What's up, everybody? Crypto Muscle coming to you with another YouTube video, and so here we are. More than just a YouTube video. Oh yes, it's the Musclecast, the Crypto Musclecast. Back at it once again. Man, can't believe it. I did it twice in a month this time. Unlike what I did this whole year so far. My whole thing has been to do one every week, but this year's been busy, to say the least. And so I try to do it when I can, but the ultimate goal is to also infuse some live streaming too. It's just now trying to squeeze in time for that because, like I said, it's been a busy year, and yeah, unanticipated things have come that is hindering the time that I want to put into live streaming and all that as well, because I want to incorporate that, and I feel like it's a great way to expand and to reach out even more and just simply interact with people, whether it's YouTubers or whether it's um, viewers, subscribers, however you want to call it, uh, members, you know, followers, whatever, right? Haters too. I open it up to anybody and everybody. That's the whole idea, the whole plan that I want to do with that. So I've taken many baby steps of doing all that, and so I'm trying to get there now. And so that's where I'm at. And so here we are on the latest edition of the Musclecast. All right, so I'm gonna hopefully be able to do this on a simulcast way, and what I mean by that is to post it on YouTube, on my other channel on YouTube. I don't post it on my main channel. I post it on another channel, which is Meta Money. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see, not Meta Money, Meta. Let's see here. I'm going to switch to that channel right now. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. The Meta Muscle Show. Alright. Here it is, right? So, I don't spend as much time on it as I should be. So, I've been trying to get back to it. And I did one back on the September here. I was able to post here. But they said that the format was too big to fit on BitChute, which is kind of odd. And here is episode 41, which was just done 2 weeks ago. That I did, and that was simulcast as I posted it on both channels. And for whatever reason, that was able to fit here too. And so most people recognize that I have it here on BitChute versus my other channel. My other channel is kind of hard to find. I do post that in my link description. So, for example, those of you that are watching, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me see here. So, when you go back to my original channel, alright, let me see here. I'm going to look up a particular video here. What's up? So, the first link in the description is actually my podcast channel. So that's the very first thing you see. Even before you see anything else, alright, before you even click on show more, that's my link to my podcast channel. So that's where it's at, and that's what it's all about. Crypto Muscle, pumping iron, pumping crypto. I'm full of gimmicks, trying to get to 4,000 subs, and that's where it's at. Just trying to continue to grow. And this is my second original channel. I had my first original channel, and that was closing in on, I think, 11,000 subs at the time I had it, before YouTube took me down on that one. But anyhow, it's okay. We grow up, we try again, and I had to build it back up again. And I'm let's see, a year and a half in on my second channel now. So The first channel it was close to 2 years. Yeah. And then now I'm a year and a half in on my second channel. So yeah, I've been doing crypto YouTube for 3.5 years now. Total since July 2019 is when I first started. I started right around when Cash of X first started in pre-launch. That's when I started my YouTube channel at that time. And it was just a different time in crypto, you know. People were rebounding from platforms, and these were all like lending platforms and token, you know, ICOs and all that stuff back then. And so 2019 was a different time because 2017, 2018 was just a mess of all these various ICOs, and you know, they say, oh, you buy this, and they try to put you into lending, and then lending was taboo, so it became staking, and soon staking became like a taboo word, and you know, it went to different things, and yeah, 2019 was like a rebounding year of just people losing a lot, you know, including me. I lost a lot too at that time. Not in 2019, but before 2019, because of all these different ICOs. There was just ICOs constantly. I mean, if not daily, it was weekly. ICO, all these different opportunities and stuff. It was like, man, it was hard to keep up. And, you know, you had to pick and choose and pick and chose. But I went with some decent platforms, just the wrong strategy to it, you know. And the strategy back then, if I knew better, was to not go into the staking or lending plans. It's to actually wait for it to pump, then you dump your coins and move on, right? And if I knew any better, if I got into YouTube crypto earlier than I did, because I started learning about it summer 2017. If I got in maybe even 6 months earlier, like early 2017 or even further back into 2016, when we were just at the kind of like the infancy of crypto platforms and all that, probably could have made out with BitConnect, right? And then at the same time, I would have been able to kind of experience the early beginnings of ICOs and all that, understand it better, maybe found Oracle a lot sooner, and learned his ways of things. And you know, instead of, you know, going into the stupid platforms in terms of like the plans and all that of staking it, because if you stake it or if you lend it, you know, you go into a lending plan, oh man, you're gonna grow all that crypto, and then you sell it on the exchange, and oh man, you're gonna be making all this money, right? I mean, that was the talk, right? And that's how they get you and hooked you in. But in reality, what Oracle did was took that shit and just sold it when it pumped, right? And so that was the best way to go about doing it. And man, if I found his channel to do that back then, and all the stuff he's done back then during those ICO times, though, that was way better than following the crop of YouTubers that would buy these ICOs and then go into these lending plans and all that stuff back then, because that's what they were doing, and I thought that was the best way to do it too. I didn't know any better, but pumping it and dumping it was the best way to go. I hate to say it, but it's true in terms of these platforms back then. But yeah, so that's where I first started my YouTube channel, was the recovery stages, right? 2019, still trying to find my way, and I found my way. So I mentioned the legendary Oracle, right? And he will always be legendary in my mind because he's always done things methodically, smart, very methodical, and you could tell that he knows his shit. You know, I mean, simply put. And so, why would anybody not want to follow winning in that kind of way, right? And I have to say, I mean, to my last breath that I will ever do in a crypto video, let's just say it could be years from now, whatever. To my last breath of my final words of crypto videos, let's just say regulation comes in and they say, oh, no more videos, no more platforms, no more this, no more that, and there's really no more content creation left to do, and I only could do one last video. To my very last video that I'll ever do, it could be years from now, who knows, right? I will always pay homage and say thank you because of the fact that I couldn't have been led to the promised land without following the legendary oracle. So that's why he's always going to be legendary in my mind. And so the other day I was doing crypto news, and that's a segue to crypto news here that I did the other day, and it struck a chord in me because of what I read. And so I'm going to try to dig that up for a second here. You got to bear with me here. Let's see if I can find that. All right. It really struck a chord in me the other day, so I wanted to rehash on that. I mentioned that I'll talk about that in a podcast, right, in my Musclecast. So let me roll this back a little bit because it really struck a chord in me, and so I really wanted to kind of hash on that a little bit more because I feel that too, and so let me see if I can find that entry point that he mentioned here. Hope I didn't go too far back. There it is, right here. So this was about a week ago, and says here, and this is from Oracle himself. He says, money is not everything, but when you don't have enough, it is everything. Today I seen a parking spot in front of an old payday loan store, so I parked my Lambo right out front. There were no customers when I walked in. I remember the guy. He was a manager, and he said to me, can I help you? I just looked around and I said, no, not really. And he looked confused as I took a moment to look around. And I said, I remember when I had a really hard time, and I said, I came here and I was getting these payday loans, and it saved me. That moment in time really saved me. Can you imagine that? This was before crypto. That little bridge from here to there, that moment changed my life. Like a band-aid for a wound. I explained, I just wanted to come in just for memories. And he said, I remember you. You used to come in with your little boy sometimes. And I said, yeah, that's right. I'm so thankful to you all. I thought to myself, you're just doing your job, but you never know when you're just doing your job can have a butterfly effect. When he remembered me and I remember being a customer, it touched me about how life can change. As I left, I wished him a wonderful day, and I think it was a moment for both of us. Human to human, I'm sure he felt the magic moment too. Maybe even wondered, wow, what the F? What the fuck, right? And I didn't walk away, but when I got in my Lambo, I realized how lucky I was and how close we can all be to having everything or nothing. Life is a bunch of years you get to waste anyway you like. That is all it is. And today I wanted to appreciate how far I've come, that I'm still just a regular person, right? And I say that's true. I mean, it really struck a chord in me because I remember when I was a kid, and I could correlate to that experience, right? Or I could connect to that experience. Sorry. And for me, it made me really think about the time. It'll always be in my head when I was a kid, and I have two brothers, and I had a mom and dad, and they would fight sometimes about money, and they would never tell us about how. We were getting by, I guess. I think if you really look at how we were probably like lower middle class. Like we weren't like poverty, because we lived in a home. We lived in a nice neighborhood, decent neighborhood. It wasn't like a brand new neighborhood, but it was a decent neighborhood, good people around, things like that. But we would be able to buy things, but not everything, and I never really gave it much thought, when I was a kid, growing up and all that, and every now and then they would fight. My parents would fight about money and things like that, about expenses and such. And one of those things, I remember they would argue about would be, we and my dad at the time was the only one working, right? Because my mom was like the the stay-at-home mom watching us kids and all that. And I never really thought anything of it. I just thought that they were just a regular working family, and my dad would just make money, and it wasn't like a ton of money or whatever. Just make money when we live. We eat, we do all kinds of stuff, and but then when they would fight about money from time to time, and I would start listening to their arguments and things like that, from in the room and stuff, and they would fight. And then some of the things that stuck out to me was, why are you buying these little things for the kids, when we got things that we have to pay for, bills, and we should be focusing on bigger things, and so I remember they were arguing, and my brother was drinking this juice, and my mom was pointing out at how, what we shouldn't be buying those kind of things when we could buy something, of whatever, right? For food and stuff like that. And so, the things like that, that really, it really struck me back then, and then the fights kept getting worse, right? They would talk about things like my dad likes buying beer, so he would buy beer, and my dad would drink beer, on the couch and things like that. And they would argue about his beer drinking and stuff, and it's almost like, they're trying to budget and such and all that, but man, you can't take away my dad's beer, right? Because that was like one of the things that was him, that like we could try to strip down to anything you want, but don't take away my beer, right? But then it started to get there, and I'm just like, wow, And so they would argue about it, and I remember one argument I saw, because, I was starting to observe these things now. My dad chugged down a beer and slammed it on the counter, bam! And beer flying all over the place, and it was just funny, because it was like, man, like, I thought to myself, man, I can't live life like this, like when I grow up. So I've always worked hard in school, to try to get good grades, which I did. I was maybe top 25 in my class. I wasn't like top 10. I could say top 25 in my class, right? High school, and I really wanted to go to college. I worked hard in college. I got a job. I worked, and everything I've done in life, whether it's relationships, school, work, I always believed in working hard, right? I always believed in that working hard can come back to you and things like that. So before I get to all that though, so it came to a point my dad started having health problems, and and when my dad started having health problems, a lot of this started to come on me now, since I'm the oldest of my brothers, and I'm still just a teenager, barely a teenager. I was like 15 when my dad died. So when my dad died, oh man, I felt a big ass burden fall on me now, and I mean, it was just we were literally down to just almost nothing at that point, because my dad couldn't work because my dad was sick, and he had cancer, right? And so he had to stay in the hospital for cancer and all that, throughout the last of his last months of living, right? And I felt this big burden fall on me, right? I mean, we were just barely, because we were getting like money from, I don't know what we were getting, where we were getting the money from, but it wasn't from his job anymore because he wasn't working. But something was supplementing the situation. I don't know if it was disability or what it was, but we were just barely getting money, and we were down to like literally nothing, And what worse comes to worse, right? Of all things, I had to drop my dad off at the hospital, right, with my mom. My mom could barely drive, and I could barely drive. I only had a learner's permit driving a stick shift pickup truck, right? And I remember when my dad had an emergency. I don't know, for some reason we didn't call the ambulance. We hopped in the car and I drove stick shift, barely being able to drive stick shift, and made it to the hospital, dropped him off, and yeah, that's where his condition got worse. I mean, it got really bad to where he ended up dying, right? And for how long later though? But I remember I was driving home with my mom in that same pickup truck, and it was leaking oil, right? And we always had to fill it with oil, and I just never been repaired because we just didn't have money to repair it. So we're driving home on the freeway, and all of a sudden you hear a big bang, boom, right? Holy shit! And then you see smoke coming out, and we're trying to go up this hill that was on the freeway. It was just a big hill, and we barely made it to the top of the hill because of just the speed that it was at when the engine blew, right? And I looked under the hood. It was nighttime, and I looked under the hood. All you could see was smoke, and I did not know that the engine blew up, because the rod went right through the engine. And I couldn't tell at the time, because it was dark. So we sat there, right? And we were pretty close. It would have been from where we were at to the off ramp to the place we were at. It would probably just walking alone around 30 minutes, right? But at the time, we didn't have a phone on us or anything like that, and we couldn't just sit there. So what we do? We just started to walk on the freeway, So we had a blown pickup truck. My dad is in the hospital with cancer, and it was just me and my mom walking along the side of the freeway. And all of a sudden, this car pulls over, right? And his family, guy and his wife pulls over and says, "Hey, you guys alright? You guys need a ride, right?" And they didn't look like they were the types, that they were killers or whatever like that. They just looked like a nice family. Hey, and is that your car back there? That's smoking. And I was like, yeah. And so they gave us a ride and they dropped us off, and we said thanks, because I mean, right when we were at rock bottom, this is what happens, right? I mean, it couldn't have gotten any worse, right? So, got a ride, and he said, "Hey, he said, hey, bless you guys, blah blah blah, right?" And I said, "Thank you, thank you. We're just having a tough time right now, and I'm just 15 years old. We're having a tough time, and I've kind of got to step up, right?" And now, we go back to our place, and there's like literally nothing. Really, there's like nothing in the fridge, right? And it was just like we're just sitting there with just nothing to eat, right? And all of a sudden, the next day, it was just like something magical happened because literally on our doorstep, we knock on the door. There's boxes of food, drinks, all the stuff just comes at our door, and open the door, and they're like, "Hey, here you go," and dropping off boxes of just various food, pasta. I remember a little bit of meat, snacks. I remember the first thing I opened up as I was unloading everything out of these boxes was just I went straight for the cookies, because I loved cookies when I was a kid, and I started eating the cookies, and I was just like, "Wow, what is going on here?" And we got some help, and I don't know if it was just a blessing in disguise or what, but it was just a time where right when we hit rock bottom, it was just like, bam, all these just good things just started happening that came back for us, and but then as I lived on, right, because now, my dad died eventually, and then it was like, all right, I had to be kind of like essentially the man of the house because my mom barely understood like bills, all the terminology that's used in all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, here's a hint. She has understanding of the English language, but when you start going into deeper meanings and things, she doesn't have a good understanding of it, right? So I had to be like the person to step up and help her pay bills and help do all kinds of stuff, and so I felt like it was a big burden on me for just being 15 years old onwards, right? And it was just funny because I thought about the times when my parents were fighting and we were hitting rock bottom, and I was thinking to myself, man, I cannot let this be me growing up, and I've always worked hard in school, so I carried it forward, in terms of just continuing to work hard in school. And when I first start getting my job, I'm just going to work hard and just try to just, make the best of everything, and the one thing I've always believed in is you work hard and have a good work ethic, that it will come back to you in terms of being rewarded for what you do, and so like I said, I worked hard in everything I've done in life when it comes to job, school, relationships. It's one of those things that I always feel you work hard, you put in the effort, it comes back to you in a good way, right? And so, you know, I went through top 25 in high school. College comes around, had a rough transition from high school to college, right? And fell behind first year, but what did I do? Worked my ass off. Summer school, winter sessions, because usually those are breaks, but you can still take classes optionally if you want to. And I took classes during those breaks that I could have taken, but continued on. And so even though I had a rough first year and it really slowed me down, I still caught up with classes between taking summer sessions, winter sessions, night classes, day classes. I mean, different schools. Just because when I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, I took courses at night with her while I was going to school in the daytime at my current college. So I was just busy, and still ended up graduating college within 4 years, working my ass off. And literally, I burned myself out though, because the only regret I have is not going for a master's or beyond. That's one of the things I regret. And after I finished my bachelor's, I was burned out because I've worked so hard to try to keep it at 4 years, because when they say 4-year college, I want to be done 4 years, right? But I burned myself out in the process. And so I think if I didn't burn myself out, I would have pushed on for another 2 years or so to finish and get a master's at that time. And by that time, I started bridging, got to work, in a bigger job and all that stuff, that I didn't go back and looked back at school anymore as an option anymore. And so if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have burned myself out, went for a master's. But hey, it is what it is, right? So, like I said, I believe in working your ass off to grow, right? And I wanted to live a better life than I lived when I was a kid. I didn't want to have a life of being where I am now in terms of having arguments about money and all these life situations. I want to be able to just live and be able to not have those kind of worries, and that's always the biggest thing on my mind, that I don't want to say financially free, but just worry free about that, in terms of life as it is. So when I read that story from the Oracle, it just struck a chord in me, because I've worked my ass off in everything in life, and even in crypto YouTube, right? I hit rock bottom in crypto YouTube, and or not YouTube, but just in crypto, and rediscovered what it takes to be a winner. And like I said, it's become a lucrative experience, and I became a winner. All right, and that's this whole thing like I said, that story struck a chord in me, and I wanted to tell that story about my experience in life growing up and being able and seeing what I saw back then. I didn't want to have that struggle ever, and that's the part, two parts here of being my adult self, right? Before crypto, I believed in working my ass off, got a decent job. I wasn't satisfied as I progressed through the years in the company I was in. Let's just say I could tell you my old job. I won't tell you my current one, but my old job, I was in the, what do you call it, the beverage business, right? In terms of beers, and I worked for a distributor. And it started out good. I grew with the company. And as time went on, it sucked. It was good. And I worked my ass off in that job. And I felt like I wasn't being rewarded enough with that because I was paid on salary, right? So it became a job to where I was working, let's just say on average, you get paid 8 hours, right? 5 to 6 hours a day. Hey, and you go home, right? You're done for the day, you go home. You don't have to worry about checking in the office. If you got what you're supposed to do done, then you're good to go for the day. You just, start off the next day and do it all over again, right? And so it started out like that, which is fine. It gave me time to go work out, things like that. But as time went on, they started throwing more at you, more at you, more at you. Like expectations grew higher, but they weren't increasing the pay. They just kept on saying, here you go, here you go, here's more to do, here's more to do. To where, all right, now it became a full 8 hours. And that's fine, 8 hours. Holidays was worse. Every time there's a holiday, you're always working extra hours. For some reason, when you're trying to ramp up for the holidays, and especially in the beer business, you're loading up, you're stockpiling stores with beer and all that stuff, right? And the thing about it is, and I wasn't a driver, by the way. I was doing the ordering. I ordered and inventory for them, these stores and stuff. And the thing about it is that it became a point where everybody's working long hours on a salary. And I was just like, man, this is ridiculous, And I understand if it was like the holidays, it gets busy, right? Whatever. And we just get holidays off. So you build up for the holidays and you have holidays off. So with that though, when we look at it, you're working on a salary, and it got to the point where I'm working now 8 to 10 hours a day on average, right? As they gave you more accounts, more tasks to do, and it's like, what the hell am I doing? And it's really starting to cut into my time now because I'm wasting time trying to get work done. And there's like these little tedious aspects that they had expectations of, these little tedious and cumbersome things that if it wasn't for those little things like code dates, for example, because it has to be within the code date, or else if it's expired, it's bad, and if they catch that, you're in big trouble, right? You always had to worry about code dates because it ends up biting you in the ass. Especially domestic beer products like Budweiser and all that, they have a shorter life, right? So in terms of fresh dates, right, they go by freshness dates. And import beers like Coronas and things like that, all the micro brew beers like Sierra Nevada, Sam Adams, they have like a longer shelf life, longer freshness date. You don't have to worry about it. You could wait, literally let those go for months. Whereas domestic beers like the Bud Lights and things like that, Budweisers, they have a shorter code life, right? Michelob Ultra, things like that, which made it a little bit harder because now you're constantly always watching dates and all that stuff. But anyhow, that's just the cumbersome crap I had to deal with. And so, one thing I understood too is understanding the writing on the wall, right? The moment when there's a writing on the wall moment. And the writing on the wall moment for me was, all right, here's an opportunity to become a supervisor, which was very tough in the company I'm in because, one, supervisors tend to stay for a long, long time. Two, the opportunities come, far and few between, right? So when this time came, oh shit, I went to jump for it, right? And they said, oh, submit a resume, all that stuff, right? And so I definitely submitted a resume. I know I did. 1 week before the deadline, because I didn't want to wait till the deadline. I wanted to make sure I got it in advance. And I remember I gave it the Friday before the Friday due date. So a whole week in advance. Turn that thing in. So time passed, and my coworker asked me, hey, you ever interview for that supervisor spot? Because he knew I was interested. I said, no. And he goes, what happened? And I was like, I don't know, I never got called. He's like, well, you better go find out. They're in their second round of interviews. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And I made a call, and I bypassed my supervisor to the general manager because I know the general manager personally. Like we both came up around the same time, and he jumped to general manager, all because he left to corporate a while ago, and then when general manager came up, because the president of my company was cutting expenses, so she cut the vice president, she cut the general manager because of the salaries. So the general manager that I was close to came back to me. I think he went on a lower salary than what the previous general manager had, and that's in my opinion. Not general manager, sorry, sales manager, and that's just my opinion. He wouldn't tell me, even though we were kind of close that way. And I understand, but the president of the company was cutting salaries. So she cut vice president, she cut general manager, sales manager, she cut all their salaries by firing them all right? And then she hired her best friend to be vice president and general manager, and then she hired this guy that I'm talking about for sales manager. All right, and I'm telling you, it had to be at lower salaries. But anyhow, that's not the point. Point is, I contacted the sales manager, bypassed my supervisor. My supervisor, when he found out later, got pissed. But I wasn't like that with him, though. That was the thing. I didn't trust him. So, talked to the sales manager. I said, "Hey, what's going on here?" Right? And he said, "I don't know. That's unacceptable. And let me find out for you." Right? Calls HR. HR calls me back. Says, "Oh, we don't see your resume." And I was like, "It can't be because I submitted it 1 week before, and I know I sent it." "Oh, let me have IT check out my computer." And next thing you know, it calls me hours later. "Oh yeah, IT has found your resume." That was my computer, and I was thinking to myself in my mind. I didn't say it to her, but I said in my mind, "Bullshit." All right, bullshit. All right. And by the way, HR was the president's aunt, believe it or not. That's crazy, right? It's a family. So best friend. I mean, she really tied the top up, right? She had her daughter in some unnamed position high up in the company. So president, by the way, is hot. With her daughter, hot, as some unnamed position. Her best friend was like the general manager, vice president, right? And her aunt was HR. And by the way, huge jugs too. That's all I gotta say, man. It's like you're telling me, look at it, holy shit, huge jugs. But anyhow, she was ditzy as well, though. By the way, and her husband was the lawyer for the company. It was just crazy, all this family ties bullshit. But HR has found, not HR, IT has found your resume. I couldn't find it, and they located it. It must have been lost. And it's like, bullshit, bitch. So now what are we going to do? Right, second round of interviews, and I was told, oh well, we're already in a second round of interviews. We've already, eliminated candidates down to our final two, and so that's where we're at. It would be kind of unfair to bring you in if we already are in the second round. We're already consolidated down to two possible candidates. And I said to myself, okay, thank you. All right, and then that was a light and spark in my mind that I got to get the hell out of there, because that was the writing on the wall. So that was one of those memorable things I'll never forget about how that mishap led to my push to get out of there as quickly as possible, and I did. I was patient because the type of career I was trying to get into, which I'm in now. Let's just say in this direction, it's tough. It's a very tough field to get into, and by the way, worked my ass off trying to get there, right? And it took years, because it's a strenuous process to go through, and super tough, right? Especially when there's multiple, let's just say multiple candidates, strenuous process to get to where I'm at now, and it's just one after another. It was just tough, and I kept trying, and it took years. And what timing? I mean, the timing of I got to get the hell out of there, writing on the wall from this company I was in to where I'm at now, the timing of it couldn't have come any sooner. And so after that moment, I knew that I can't be there anymore. And so I think about a year later, because I just kind of just continued the consistency of my job, but my heart was done with that place, and I kept striving to go for the field I'm in now, right? And going through process after process after process, all right? Worked my ass off to get there, perseverance, right? Key thing once again. I succeeded to get what I wanted, right? So, man, it's funny how you work your ass off for things and you get there, right? You work hard, you get to that point of where you want to be, all right? And of course, you'll never be satisfied, because you're always going to want more. You're always going to yearn for more, but it's satisfying that you could get to that place, because now that you're at that place, you could go even higher if you put your mind and effort into it, right? Shit. And that's what I said. That Oracle story struck a chord in me, because it made me think about back then when I was a kid, when my parents were arguing about simple little things, about juices and things like that. And I remember they were staring at my little brother as he was drinking that bottle of juice, and I looked at him too, and I was just like, wow, that we were really struggling, that we're arguing over little things like that, and I was like, man, I don't want to be like that when I'm older, and that's one of the things I always said to myself, is that I'll never ever want to be in that situation where I'll be arguing over money or anything like that. That I want to be able to provide and live comfortably, right? And that's where I'm at right now. Couldn't have asked for a better career, especially the career I was in before and the career change after. And all I gotta say is the pension is there at the end, right? That's the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. Is that people ask me oftentimes, hey, how come you do all this stuff in crypto? How come you don't just quit your job and just focus all on crypto? And believe me, if I could, I would, right? If I was in my previous career, I would have been out the door a long time ago, right? But this job, the only reason why I'm still sticking around is because there's a pension at the end of that rainbow, and I'm not going to turn that shit down. I'm going to take advantage of that pension, right? So why not? I want that pension, right? So, because being able to to be able to have something that's going to be given to you, right, for working your hard. You work hard, you could build up that pension, right? In terms of positions, right? Because it's all about where your pay is at the end of your career is going to translate to what you're going to get outside of that in the form of a pension, all right? And how many years you put into it as well. So combination of highest salary and years into the career correlates to how much you'll get in your pension for the rest of your life. Along with medical too, come on. It's a no-brainer. I got to keep my job. I mean, that's the only reason why I'm sticking around for it. And so I'm doing a dual effort, right? That I'm working this job with a pension and doing crypto. So it's like working two jobs, because crypto has been very lucrative, and like I said, I'm always going to credit Oracle for leading me down this path. And it's given me success. It's given me something to achieve, and it's given me this hunger that, man, I can't get enough of it. I want more and more and more, right? And so that's what I've been doing. I just keep on working hard, keep on accumulating, and keep on stacking, and I'll spend here and there, like I said, I'm not lavishly spending on things, but all I gotta say is I'm super comfortable, and I can spend wherever I please with with the crypto I have. And let's just say it's been a very, very lucrative experience, and it could be even more lucrative. I mean, the sky's the limit, and I'm hungry, and I do have the passion for crypto, and so that's where I'm at with it in terms of being able to live, being able to move forward. And man, life is crazy though, right? Because like I said, the struggle back then to now, it's comfortable, and I'm always itching to even do better than where I'm at now. Because I mean, I can't complain with what I got going on. Right? I mean, the job is good, the crypto is good, the house is good, that new car I bought last year was good, right? Courtesy of Cubatech, it's good. I mean, I can't complain. Life is good, and could it be even better? Of course. Of course. But it's all about the hard work, the effort you put into everything that you do, whether it's my real life job, whether it's in crypto. It's always 100% max effort, and that's what I always do, no doubt. Like I said, I work my ass off for everything I do. I don't halfway nothing. I pump iron, always pumping hard, pumping iron, and throughout pumping iron, I bulked up a good solid 40 to 45 pounds over the course of 5 years, all right, during the time of my weightlifting growth. And I've been kind of hovering around the 225 mark, all right, on my 6'2" frame. And I worked my ass off on that too, pumping iron, right? I didn't even get started till after college. I didn't lift in high school. I didn't lift in college. But I started lifting after college. And I lifted, but I didn't get serious until I decided I wanted to embark on this career and field that I'm in now. That, you know what? I got to be bigger. I got to be stronger. I got to be faster than what I am back then. I was just a lanky guy, lanky, skinny guy. I could say fit, at 100. At the time, I was like 180 pounds. And so, started pumping iron. And gradually, it was intimidating. I remember when I first walked in the gym, I see all these guys pumping iron. They're all big and everything. It was intimidating at first, I have to admit. But, I just kept going and going. And over time, started introducing myself to the workout stuff, the pre-workouts and all that stuff, and protein, and man, the rest is history, man. It just grew over time. And it wasn't like an overnight thing. It wasn't within a year, because I know that you could take stuff that you could grow super fast, right? But now it took about good 4 to 5 years to get to where I'm at, just from time and just effort putting into it, and I don't know. I never crossed my mind to take like steroids or even like HGH or any of those other stuff. I just stuck to the basic, pre-workout. What do you call it? Nitrous oxide. Where there's no caffeine in it. BCAAs, protein, and just rinse and repeat. Creatine. That's the only really big muscle builder I put in drink is creatine. And pre-workouts is definitely a must in terms of lifting. It gives you that extra edge in lifting. Yeah, and it got to where I'm at. Balance that with running. I started out with 1 mile, then 2 miles, and then to the point where I was just running 5 miles on average for years. And then up until a few years ago, I was like, man, I got to run even more. So I regularly run 7 miles now. But I only do it once a week because I don't want that to cut into my bulk. Even though it kind of can, really technically, right? Because 7 miles is quite a bit of running. But I'm still kind of maintaining around the 225 mark, being able to run 7 miles within about an hour. 7 miles. I've been a little bit slower now because COVID slowed me down. Man, the shutdown of the gyms and COVID really threw a wrench in my workouts and running. So working out, it got me. I got back to where I was in terms of working out, but the running hasn't been quite the same since the COVID thing started 2 years ago. So I kind of slowed down a bit. I used to be able to run good solid 55 minutes, 56 minutes on average running 7 miles, but now I'm running about an hour right now. So lost a little bit of time on that. But yeah, so talking about working my ass off, I worked my ass off in that too in terms of getting bigger, stronger, faster. Worked my ass off in crypto, worked my ass off in the field I'm in now, worked my ass off in everything because, like I said, thinking back to that time when I was a kid and the struggles of that time and the arguments I saw my parents, and it's like I don't want to be like that, I hate to say it, but I don't want to live that ever again, and God bless my parents, and my dad, passed away when I was 15. My mom's still around, and we talk and we'll have lunch or dinner from time to time. We're still in touch, and she's still a stubborn woman. But hey, I was still born from her. She's still my mom, and I respect her and love my mom. But at the same time, whew, man, I don't ever want to have to do that in my future, and so that's where I'm at with all that. So yeah, that's my story for today. I said that I was kind of riveted with that, and I wanted to go into that more in this podcast. I felt like it was a good podcast to do and tell this story, and so I hope you guys got something throughout all this, right? The trials and tribulations of crypto muscle, right? And everybody's going to hit a bottom, and once you do, there's nothing to go but up, and that's the way I look at it. And how far can you go up? Shit, sky's the limit. You could go beyond, right? You could go shoot for the stars, the universe, whatever, right? That's just what it is, and it's all about you, your effort that you put into it, and I'm all about it, and never say die. all about perseverance as well. I never ever quit, especially if you want something that you want that bad, and you just gotta just keep going at it, work hard at it, and you will overcome and succeed, and you'll get that, and so that's what life is about, right? Life is about lessons and rebounding and working hard to get there, right? Nothing ever comes easy. Never does, right? And, I've heard Oracle told his stories about times when he was growing up and all that too, and the tough times that he had when he hit his rock bottom at the time, when he lost everything and he bounced the top. He told those stories, right? If you go to his channel, he told those stories as well, and those are some interesting stories about his life as well. So, we all got something we could relate to in terms of these experiences, and it's what you make of it, and can you grow from it? And we all definitely grow from it, right? We grew up, up, on the way up to the top, right? And that's what we done. So, shout out to the Oracle if you're listening, and I just want to say thank you once again, and there's a lot more stories to tell. There's just one to tell today on this particular Musclecast. And, what more can we tell? Man, there's all kinds of stories to tell. And that's what this podcast is about. It's just talking about anything and everything, Nothing's off the table. I'm just confines of working within. If I can incorporate music, I would love to incorporate music. I used to do it primarily if it's not posted on YouTube, I would play all kinds of music in the background if you listen to my previous podcast episodes here. But since I started simulcasting it on YouTube, I take out the music just because I don't want them to be cutting my content, especially if I'm trying to deliver 1 hour of pure, unadulterated, unfiltered, everything content, the Musclecast, right? And soon, I'm going to, like I said, I want to try to expand that to live streaming and all that, because I want to be able to interact with everybody. I just want to just feel that, and I think it'd be cool and fun. And like I said, whether it's people that's for me and for people that's against me, I'm all about it. I'll take it all on. I want to be able to have that interaction. I think it'll be great. It'll be fun to have that, and so that's the ultimate thing I really want to do. It's just a matter of just getting it going. And I think once I get that first one done and the feel of how that's going to work, I think it'll just get easier from there to do future ones beyond that first live stream, right? So, I can't wait for that. So, other than that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. If you listen to all this, I just want to say thank you, because all these episodes I've done, I do miss CocoScope though, because all the previous episodes are on CocoScope, and that platform went away. And I never kept, like, all these Musclecasts, I don't keep any episodes of them like I do with my YouTube videos. I keep all of them. I don't know why I do what I do, but that's just what I do. So if it's posted here, it's here, and that's it. I wish I had downloaded all my CocoScope edition ones. I would think it would have been great to have to keep. But anyhow, I'm learning that now. So we'll see. But so this is where it's at on BitChute, and my other one's on my, right there on my Musclecast YouTube channel right there. It's right there in the description. Check it out. So let's see, what else is there? Yeah, tune in again next time, whenever that may be. I hope I could keep, trying to keep this momentum going of just getting it to go week to week again like I used to, or incorporate the live stream at some point. But we'll see what happens. It's just a matter of time. So other than that, I just want to say thanks again, and I'll definitely see you in the next one as we roll along on the Crypto Musclecast. All right, the Metal Muscle Show. But yeah, I'm trying to fill out the 1 hour mark here. Usually I could, but I'm a few seconds short today. But I'm trying to fill it out. All right, here we go. We're about to hit it. Another 10 more seconds. Oh yeah. It's all about Shazam. All right, here we go. I'll see you next one.